Is my mom all settled into our place? Jake questioned, having made the decision to move his mother into our home without even considering my opinion. All the preparations for the move had been thrown onto my shoulders. Yes, she's all settled in. I've just finished sending all my stuff back to my parents' place too, I answered. What? He was clearly taken aback, probably never expecting that I'd move back to my parents' home. After the initial surprise, a snide laugh escaped his nose as he looked down on me. What are you talking about, Ashley? You can't possibly live on your own. Little did Jake know about my determination, how much I've been earning on my own lately. You, spending all day staring at a screen on your phone or computer? You can't possibly manage on your own, Jake sneered. Well, I'd just have to show him, wouldn't I? There's no way I'm turning to him for help anymore. I'll prove that I can survive on my own. My name is Ashley, and I'm 46 years old. I've been married for about 20 years. There are no children between my husband and me. My husband, Jake, an elite banker, has a penchant for fussing over details, whether it's his personality or his profession. He seems to still adore his 56-year-old mother. My mother-in-law lives alone at her house that is a distance from us. My father-in-law passed away 3 years ago. As an only child, Jake has been repeatedly urged by his mother to show her a grandchild soon. However, there was a reason why we couldn't fulfill her wish. The reason is quite simple. Jake said he didn't want a child, even though he always plays the dutiful son to his mother and says, "Yeah, we should have a child soon." Whenever the subject of children comes up, when it's just the two of us, he changes tone, saying, "I said that in front of Mom, but having children is just a hassle. Well, I don't need that." So here we are at our age, childless. If we decided to have a child now, it would be a high-risk pregnancy. The risks are obvious. So, at some point, we just gave up on having children. Plus, I think somewhere deep down, I didn't want a child with Jake. There were plenty of reasons to feel that way. For instance, when I went to introduce myself before we got married. "Hey, Ashley, I don't think you're a good match for Jake. The banker's wife should be more, this won't last long." She whispered to me so Jake wouldn't hear. But to Jake, she would say sweet words like, "As long as Jake is happy, that's all that matters." It's exhausting dealing with two-faced people like her. It was the same about not having children. "I want to see my grandchild soon. When will you show me?" "I know, Mom. I'm sorry. Ashley says she doesn't want any," Jake would say, blaming it on me. I gradually started to dislike Jake, who put the blame on me when he was the one who said he didn't want children. I don't know if it's because he loves his mother so much, but I wonder if this is what people call a mama's boy. His mother's words are absolute for him, and he won't stand up for his wife, me. "Ashley, why don't you want children?" "She said it's because it seems like a hassle to have them." "Well, you're such a cold person. Jake, are you sure you want to be with this woman?" "It's fine. If I weren't here, Ashley couldn't survive. It can't be helped." "Oh, how kind of you, Jake. Ashley, you need to thank Jake properly." "That's right. Who do you think is supporting you?" Yes, they would laugh at me together. And it wasn't just that. They did the same about my mother. "Ashley is such a terrible person. I bet the person who raised her is even worse." "Yeah, they say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree." That's absolutely true. Jake is just like his mother. But I couldn't stand them talking ill about my own mother. I should have spoken up at the time, but I was too preoccupied with taking care of my father-in-law. While I was there, I was in charge of caring for him. My father-in-law couldn't do anything on his own. He was suffering from a rare disease where his muscles were gradually stiffening. As a result, my father couldn't manage to eat or eliminate on his own. When I wasn't around, I didn't know if my mother-in-law looked after him or if they had a caretaker visiting. However, knowing my mother-in-law, I bet they had a caretaker. I couldn't imagine her taking care of him herself. If she had a shred of empathy, she wouldn't have left all the care to me alone. Knowing I couldn't voice any objections, Jake started feeding her all sorts of stories about me. I can't stand this anymore. I don't want to continue this marriage. I want to leave. I had every reason to think so. I can't believe I've endured it all until now. Aside from the things I've shared so far, there are so many other things they've put me through, all of them unpleasant memories. Even when my father-in-law died, my mother-in-law was laughing and remarked, "Ah, it's finally over. We don't need to waste our money anymore, and I can relax now." Those aren't the words you use for a husband you've spent years with, especially when she hadn't done anything herself. I was the one who was taking care of him, all alone. Her comments about the money not being wasted probably means she had hired a caretaker after all. It was because of her character that I no longer wanted to be called her daughter-in-law. However, Jake recently spoke to me about her. Apparently, she's showing signs of dementia. When I asked to what extent, he said she started to forget things more often. Upon hearing this, I thought it was probably in the early stages of dementia. I suggested that it might be better for her to move into a nursing home, where professionals could care for her. But Jake sighed in annoyance. "Don't you have any empathy? You live in our house, so you can take care of her here. That's all there is to it." What was he even talking about? I was busy too. "All you do every day is housework. If that's the case, you can take care of my mother." I'm busy too. Besides, after all she's put me through, do you think I want to take care of her? You're such an unpleasant woman. Anyway, my mother will live here. This is final. No objections. It was clear that he had no intention of listening to my opinion in the first place. If that's the case, then I had to adapt to the situation. I simply responded, "Understood," and began preparing for my mother-in-law's move. I went back and forth from my mother-in-law's house to our home, using my car. It wasn't a large car, so it took several trips. The distance from her house to ours was an hour's drive, one way. It was exhausting to rush around and pay for gas on my own, but nobody was there to help me, so I did it all by myself. I could have asked for help from a friend, but I thought Jake, with his high pride, would get angry if he found out. I figured he'd find it embarrassing if people knew that he was making his wife do all the preparations for his mother, with dementia, to move in. So I ruled out the option of asking a friend for help. I suppose I must have been a little out of sorts myself. After a few days of moving my mother-in-law's belongings, I started moving my stuff to my parents' house. They asked what had happened, but I only gave them a brief explanation. My parents consoled me, saying, "You've been through a lot, and you did well." Thanks to my parents' encouragement, I mustered up the courage to go back to our house to finish what was left. My parents told me I didn't have to go back, but I said, "I can't leave things unfinished," and left my parents' house with a smile. When I got home, Jake was already back and was furious to see me coming home at night. "Where have you been? You didn't even prepare dinner." "I'll do it now. It's none of your business where I go." "What kind of talk is that? Who do you think is providing for you?" Jake always gets like this when he's angry. He yells, "Who do you think is providing for you?" As if he thinks that would make me back down. In truth, that was the case in the beginning, so I couldn't say anything against it. But things are different now. Jake doesn't know, but I've been working too. To him, it must just look like I'm staring at my smartphone or computer all day. "So, what do you want to eat?" I asked, ignoring Jake's shouting. This only made him angrier. However, I was no longer willing to cater to his whims. In the past, I would have done anything to appease his anger. I moved as he wanted. I acted as he said. But I was tired of sacrificing for him anymore. "Enough! I can't eat with you. It'll taste terrible. I'll go eat outside." He spat out these words and stormed out of the house, slamming the door behind him. If this had been me from the past, I would have panicked. I would have run out and cried, looking for him. I knew that's what he wanted, but that wasn't me anymore. I thought, if I don't have to prepare dinner, then that's better. I grabbed my car keys to go get some food, but when I opened the door, Jake was there at the entrance. "Why didn't you come after me?" I sighed deeply, tired of his antics. You were the one who said that a meal with me would be distasteful. That's why I didn't come after you. I explained, frowning, as if to ask, don't you understand? He blurted out some incomprehensible nonsense about how I would usually chase after him. We went inside the house and Jake was still sulking. It was so childish, not fitting for a 56-year-old man. It was frankly disgusting. When I said nothing, Jake, still in a bad mood, started to talk. Did you finish moving my mom? Jake, who had decided on living with his mother without asking me, and had thrown all the preparation onto me. I'm done! I've just finished sending all my stuff to my parents' house. What? He probably didn't think I would actually go back to my parents. He smirked at me, a condescending laugh. What are you saying? You can't live on your own. You're just staring at your phone or computer all day. You can't survive without me. No matter what happens, I won't rely on you. I'll prove that I can live on my own. You may not know it, but I can live by myself. Don't lie. What's the point of telling such an obvious lie? Why do you think it's a lie? Then Jake continued, looking down on me. Listen, you've only been able to live because of me. If I'm not around, you can't survive a single day because you can't earn money. I wondered why he thought I couldn't earn money, but I didn't touch on it and said, even if I explain it here, you won't believe me, but I'll go back to my parents' house anyway. If you're going back to your parents' house, we should divorce. Don't cry and come back later. Do whatever you want. I can see you regretting your divorce in less than 3 days and coming back crying. Fine. That's okay. I've prepared the divorce papers. Please sign here. As Jake signed, sneering with an arrogant smile, I glared at him, grabbed the divorce papers, got in the car, and headed back to my parents' house. Jake seemed surprised that I actually went back to my parents' house. He called me a few times, but I decided to ignore it. However, after about 2 days of silence, since I got back home, the phone calls from Jake started again. I initially did not answer, thinking he might be abusive. But then a voicemail from Jake came in. I decided to listen to it. Ashley, are you angry? I'll forgive you, so come back. That was it. I'll forgive you? He's the one who proposed divorce, and yet he's saying this? If you think about the situation, it's me who should be forgiving Jake, not him. Of course, I would never forgive him. As this unforgiving feeling bubbled up inside me, I decided to answer the next call. However, contrary to this resolution, I didn't hear from Jake for a while. I thought he had given up, but then the phone rang. It was 2 weeks after the day of that voicemail message. Hello? Ashley? When I answered the phone, Jake was sobbing. Wondering why a grown man was crying, I remained silent. Then, from behind him, I heard a weird scream. At the same time, Jake yelled, "Stop it, Mom!" From this, I could easily imagine that her dementia situation had escalated beyond Jake's control. Ashley, it was my fault. Please come back. I don't know what you're talking about. I left. That's why you can come back. I don't want to come back. Please, I can't handle my dementia-stricken mother and work at the same time. You must be in trouble without my money. I'm not in trouble, and I absolutely don't want to. We're a couple, right? Couples help each other. Yes, they do, but we are strangers now. What are you talking about? I'm in such trouble. But when I was miserable, you didn't help me, did you? You were laughing with your mom. Okay, got it. I'll pay. How much do you want? If you look after my mom, I'll pay. You'll come then, right? What do you think I am? Besides, I earn more than you, Jake. What? There was a reason why I had never told him. Jake was the type of person who disapproved of me working. It was when I mentioned that I wanted to do a part-time job. Women should only do housework at home. It's shameful to work outside. People might think I don't earn enough, he raged. So because of Jake's pride, I had to work in secret. I desperately earned money in ways that Jake wouldn't find out. What job were you doing behind my back? Stock trading. A friend taught me. It was a success, and now I've become a professional trader. So don't worry, I can live on my own. Please come back! Why don't you take care of your beloved mother yourself? Besides, you're the one who suggested divorce. You actually filed for divorce? You thought I wouldn't? I went to file it right away. If you have something to say, please do it through a lawyer. At my cold words, Jake kept repeating, I didn't really mean to divorce. Please come back. I said I was busy and hung up, then contacted a friend to introduce me to a lawyer. He agreed to represent me right away, and from then on, all communication was done through the lawyer. It took a bit of time, but I managed to finalize the divorce. And this is what I heard from the lawyer. It seems that my mother-in-law's wandering habit has worsened. She often sneaks out in the middle of the night and dines and dashes at convenience stores. She's been banned from countless places. Not only that, but when she's at home, she smears filth on the walls and eats things she definitely shouldn't, causing a big mess. On top of that, because of her shrill screams, complaints and reports from the neighbors never cease, and the police often visit. Despite the situation, Jake didn't resort to day services because of his ridiculous pride, saying, People might think I'm a bad son if I leave my mother to a day service. It's shameful. It's not something a capable man like me should do. It could all be resolved if Ashley just came back. I heard that Jake, who used to rely on me and push everything onto me, is now a complete mess, incomparable to those days. He's thin, with hollow eyes, possibly from lack of sleep, and his appearance has become so ghost-like that it's even a topic of conversation in the neighborhood. When I heard that, I thought, it serves him right, but I didn't say it out loud and just thanked the lawyer. As for me, I've moved to the top floor of a tower apartment with my parents. Jake had always belittled my parents, but now I'm really glad I could live in a nice place with them. Finally free, I'm spending very happy days looking at the beautiful scenery every day.
I'm Scarlett, a 37-year-old, childless, working housewife. Today is our 5th wedding anniversary, and also my husband Everett's birthday, who is the same age as me. Everett is a handsome salesman at a famous company and seems to be quite successful, but he often works late and entertains clients, so we don't see each other much. Our wedding was a simple weekday ceremony with family and a few friends, as we both had weekend jobs and struggled to find a common schedule. Everett strongly wanted it this way. So, for our anniversary and his birthday, I asked him to come home early. I took a half day off from work. I bought his favorite Wagyu steak, wine, and cake at a department store and set a stylish table. I waited for Everett to come home. However, despite my insistence on coming home early, he didn't return. I received a single email saying he had urgent work and would stay at the office. Disappointed, but understanding it was work, I cleaned up the dinner and went to bed, feeling a little doubtful since he had said he wasn't that busy. The next morning, I went to work as usual, and my messages to his phone went unread. No response to my calls either. Worried, I called his office and was shocked to learn he had resigned the day before and apparently found a job in a neighboring prefecture. I hadn't heard a word about this. I rushed home and saw his shoes at the entrance. I burst into his room to find him packing his belongings in a suitcase. What's going on? In my surprise, I opened my eyes wide and asked him that, and he said, What, you already found out? While clicking his tongue and handing over the divorce papers. What's going on? With cold eyes, he repeated my question and said, Let's get a divorce. Why? What for? I'm fed up with you not fulfilling your role as a wife. You prioritize work, don't cook, do laundry once a week, and the room is dusty. I don't need a wife like that. Wait a minute. For the past 2 years, I made dinner and waited. But you always said you had eaten and didn't eat it. That's why I stopped cooking. Still, it's a wife's duty to cook and wait. Besides, your cooking is terrible, so I started eating out. At the beginning of our marriage, he used to say my cooking was great. I shuddered at his cold voice and argued that we had agreed when we got married that I would do the laundry and cleaning on my days off, Wednesdays and Thursdays. But he just rolled his eyes and said, "So, I should put up with a dirty room from Friday to Tuesday? That's a joke." What happened to you all of a sudden? I never thought you wouldn't quit your job even after 5 years of marriage. When I got a job offer, I thought it was a good opportunity. A good opportunity to divorce? Everett never complained about my work or housekeeping, and there was no sign of him wanting a divorce. Well, you never noticed how dissatisfied I was. I don't need a wife like that. I rented an apartment near my new job, so I won't be coming back to this room. With that, he pushed me aside, standing in front of the door, and left the house with his suitcase. I stood there dumbfounded, unable to comprehend what had happened. A week later, I attended a high school reunion. I wasn't in the mood to go, but I had already paid the membership fee, and I hadn't been able to contact Everett since then. I was feeling frustrated every day, so I thought it might be a good change of pace. When I went, there were divorced and single mothers among my classmates, and everyone was living strong lives. Until then, I had only hoped for an improvement in my relationship with Everett, but when I thought about it, if we reconciled, I would have to follow him to his new job location. If that were the case, it would be impossible to stay at my current job considering the daily commute, even though it's just in the neighboring prefecture. On the other hand, after working for 17 years since graduating from junior college and receiving a decent salary, it would be almost impossible to earn the same income in the new location. Everett had completely rejected me, and I began to think maybe I should give up. What made it definitive was a phone call from Everett urging me to move. We had been living in a rented apartment, and Everett was a tenant. The lease renewal period was approaching, and it seemed the real estate agent had contacted Everett. "I told them we'd move out in a month, so get rid of everything by then." "I'm still living here, and you didn't consult me at all," I complained, to which he replied, "I'm the one renting it. I don't need to consult you," in a combative tone. I realized that it was really hopeless and said, "Fine, I'll clean up my stuff this weekend or next weekend. Get rid of not just your stuff, but also everything left in my room and the furniture." "What?" I was ticked off when I heard that. "What are you talking about? This room was originally rented by you when you were single, and most of the furniture has been used since then. Most of the other furniture and appliances were bought with your credit card. I'll dispose of the furniture and appliances I mainly used, but naturally, you're responsible for disposing of the rest and covering the disposal costs." When I replied, he hung up. What a stingy man, taking only his precious belongings and leaving all the cleanup to me. This made me determined to divorce him. Over the weekend, I sorted out the closet, reminiscing about the happy times we'd had since we got married. There were many things belonging to both me and Everett. Among them, I found his high school graduation album. Come to think of it, all the friends Everett introduced me to were from after college. I absent-mindedly flipped through his graduation album. That's when I noticed something unexpected. I submitted the divorce papers and reported it to Everett by email. A week later, in the evening, I received a reply from Everett with a picture, which was a marriage registration form for him and a woman. I was astonished and stared at it when he called me. "Did you see it?" "What does this mean?" "It's exactly what it looks like. I just had a wedding ceremony and remarried that woman." "You're kidding." "She's super beautiful, rich, and has a great personality. She asked me to marry her as soon as we divorced. This is proof. Isn't it amazing?" "So you were cheating on me while we were married?" "I'm popular, unlike you, who only has your job going for you. Oh, by the way, her father built us a house on their property, and I transferred to her hometown with his help. It's a mid-sized company, but I'm an executive." Everett must have really wanted to brag about remarrying his rich affair partner, but as he nonchalantly answered, a strong anger rose within me. He said there was a problem with me and divorced me, but it was actually to remarry his affair partner. He said they had been dating for over 2 years. They met at a pub with his coworkers, and she was one of 4 women sitting at the next table. Apparently, when Everett spilled his drink on his clothes, she wiped it off, and that's how they started talking. Man, she's the same age as you and me, but she's super beautiful and looks like she's 10 years younger. She quickly wiped my clothes with a pretty handkerchief. According to Everett, when he took her to a restaurant to thank her, he learned she was a landowner's daughter. She had an arranged marriage at her parents' suggestion, but was troubled by her husband's infidelity. After saying, "I need to fix my bad parts, she's totally different from you," I was instantly attracted to her, he said, and then aggressively pursued her. She started dating Everett without divorcing her husband. Isn't it normal to question the woman who dates 2 men while trying to be devoted to her husband? But Everett, blinded by love, didn't notice. "A woman who doesn't support her man is no good. You prioritize work and don't care about your husband. You're not right for me." Huh? You can't stand on your own, so you want me to support you? I couldn't help but yell at him, and Everett seemed annoyed as well, saying, "I'm so glad I'm finally free from a woman like you. Stella is the best after all." Stella? Is that her name? Yeah, it's written with the characters for double and flower, like the double cherry blossoms. She was born when the double cherry blossoms were in full bloom. Her parents have a great naming sense. They are true celebrities. As I listened to Everett's voice, enchanted with her unique name, I remembered something. Did you really marry such a wonderful woman? You're not lying? Pretending to say this, Everett's pride was hurt. She's the best wife with a great family background and personality. Look at her elegant beauty. As I expected, he sent me a picture of the 2 of them at their wedding. No doubt, it's her. I couldn't help but burst out laughing. What's so funny? This is proof that we really got married. Sure, it's real. I can't help but laugh, unable to say anything more. Hey, stop laughing. We really got married, and there's a baby in her belly. What? No way. I can't stop laughing. I get it. Losing me must have made you go crazy. Everett interprets my laughter in a way that benefits him, and says dreamily, "In 3 months, we'll have a baby girl. She'll definitely be as beautiful as Stella." Well, even if she looks like you instead, she'll still be beautiful. Everett has a sweet, idol-like handsome face. For some reason, he gets a little flustered and says, "No, she doesn't need to look like me." Hearing that, I burst out laughing again. Everett says, "Go crazy on your own. Goodbye," and hangs up the phone. Eventually, he'll find out why I was laughing. I can't wait for that day. Afterward, we had some disputes over alimony and property division, but I managed to get millions of dollars from Everett through a lawyer. Everett agreed to pay alimony for his share, not wanting to cause her emotional distress during her pregnancy. 2 years passed without any contact, and then I finally received a heartbreaking email. "Please, Scarlett, I beg you, please listen to me." Reluctantly, I answered the phone call that came right after the email. As expected, it was about the child born between him and Stella. "Well, kids tend to look like their parents, right?" "Of course! Who else would they look like?" "Yeah." Apparently, the baby girl doesn't look like the beautiful Stella at all. I tried saying, "She's only 2 years old, right? She'll change a lot as she grows." But he couldn't be convinced, thinking it strange that there's no resemblance at all. Well, I guess that makes sense. When I asked, holding back laughter, "Doesn't baby look like you?" he suddenly panicked and said loudly, "No, she doesn't. But it's okay. It's okay that she doesn't look like me." He secretly did a DNA test to check for Stella's infidelity, but the results confirmed that both Everett and Stella were undoubtedly the child's parents. "So there's no doubt that she's your child." Everett wouldn't let the conversation end there. "Hey, when I told you 2 years ago that Stella was pregnant, you laughed a lot. Do you know something?" Wow, he remembered that. Well, yeah. Actually, Stella and I went to the same high school and were in the same grade. We were never in the same class during those 3 years, so I didn't know much about her, but I remember her being the daughter of a landlord and having a haughty, bad personality. At a class reunion about 2 years ago, the topic of Stella and her plastic surgery came up. Stella, with her single eyelids, small eyes, button nose, and slight overbite, was self-conscious about her looks and apparently underwent several procedures at a famous cosmetic surgery clinic in New York after high school. She didn't attend the reunion, so I couldn't see her face, but a friend later sent me before and after pictures of her. American cosmetic surgery is amazing. When I told Everett about this, he didn't believe me at first, but then realized that he'd never seen any childhood or graduation album photos of her. Was I deceived? Damn it! Stella acted all meek while we were dating, but it turns out she cheated on me multiple times and got divorced. She's been sued for alimony by several of her ex-husband's wives. I'm going to confront her. Maybe you shouldn't. Huh? Why not? Well, the child doesn't look like you either, right? Usually, girls are said to resemble their fathers. When I said that, Everett was at a loss for words. She can't look like you. You've had plastic surgery too. How did you? When I moved out of the apartment we lived in 2 years ago, I found your high school graduation album. You looked like a completely different person, so I was shocked. After seeing that album, I understood why he never introduced me to his college friends, insisted on having a modest wedding, and only invited a few colleagues from work. Everett probably had plastic surgery while he was in college and was afraid of being exposed by his friends at the time. I don't think there's anything wrong with plastic surgery, but you have to consider that your child might look like your original face. What should I do? What do you mean, what should you do? Just be a normal father. The results showed that the child is definitely yours. With that, I hung up the phone and blocked his number and email address. He's such a narrow-minded man, just because the child's face isn't what he wanted. A year later, a friend with a child the same age as Everett's showed me a picture of her child entering kindergarten, and the child was adorable. The child simply didn't resemble the current Stella or Everett. But according to my friend who became friends with Stella, Stella also expected her child to look like Everett after his surgery. My friend has to listen to her complain almost daily, saying I shouldn't have given birth to such a child. Seriously, they're the worst couple ever. And it seems Everett cheated again, so my friend even got divorce advice from Stella. Everett is such an idiot. If he ends up divorcing Stella, he'll have to pay alimony and child support. Plus, since Stella is a rich lady, there's no telling how much money she could get if she hires a skilled lawyer. Furthermore, according to my friend who became friends with Stella, even the local kids know about her plastic surgery, and her daughter is being excluded at kindergarten, being told, "Your mom is actually ugly." It's a relief that Stella's parents seem to love their granddaughter, but it's really sad for the child. Well, it's none of my business anyway. As for me, I managed to rent an apartment in a convenient location for commuting. Now that the distance is shorter, I can do cleaning and laundry after I get home, and I can spend my days off entirely on my own interests. I've deepened my friendship with a divorced classmate, whom I met again at the reunion, and I'm enjoying a leisurely and fun life.